I used to have such a strong sense of self. I feel like I knew who I was, I knew what I liked, what I disliked, I knew what my values were, and I felt like it didn't matter what situation I got into because I knew who the me was who would be dealing with it. I knew who I would be on the other side. Even if I felt changed by an experience, I kind of had this very strong core of the me who was going to be getting through it. Recently, this sense of self has simply dissolved. It simply disappeared at some point, and I don't really know how or why. And it wasn't like a dramatic, it wasn't an aggressive thing. It wasn't like someone bonked me on the head and I was like, who the hell am I? It was more like slowly over time, I looked back for reassurance about certain things. I looked into like, okay, thinking back to things that I like, experiences I've had, things I felt I knew about myself, and suddenly being like, I don't know if I think that anymore. I don't know if I like that anymore. I don't know what I do like, but all I know is it's maybe not that person I thought I was. This has been a really discombobulating feeling because I simply don't know who I am anymore. I just was a person and now I'm not so sure anymore. And people around me are being very nice about it. They're being very empathetic. They keep saying things like, oh, I remember I went through a period of time like that. I really struggled with that for a while. It's really horrible. You'll make it through. You'll figure it out. Or they're my friends saying, yeah, I've been feeling kind of similar. I think it's very normal. Being very empathetic. And I'm getting sick of it. I'm so sorry. Empathy is absolutely necessary and a wonderful thing in the world. But there are times when I'm thinking, I'm actually asking for help. And all you're doing is going, yeah, really sucks so much. And I'm thinking, there must be something. I think this is also a me thing in that I'm a very overly rational and practical person. If there's a problem in my life, I have to be taking steps to resolve it somehow. I'm not very good at just like sitting in helplessness. Imagine if we responded like that to every single situation. Imagine if Edward Jenner had responded that way when he saw smallpox and he was just like, wow, smallpox sucks so much. Yeah, people keep dying from it. Such a shame. It just seems like a really horrible thing to go through. No, he was like, wow, look at these milkmaids and they're getting cowpox and they don't get smallpox. There's something in that. We should do something with that. I'm not saying that I'm like going to create a vaccine for self-dissolution, but I feel that there must be something we can do. And I wanted to explain what I have been doing. I think it's been really helpful, but also I know it's going to be really unpopular. I think it's not a pleasant solution, but then neither was a smallpox vaccine, guys. Neither was a smallpox vaccine. No one wants to be, I'm not going to go into the graphic details, but it didn't sound like a particularly pleasant time. And neither is the solution, because what I'm about to say is I have been reading so much existentialist philosophy and it has really been helpful. But I know, I think if I was going for a really, really horrible time and I came to a friend and they were like, you should probably read some really quite challenging and sometimes incomprehensible 19th century philosophy, I would simply respond with that vibrating cat gif. I'm not doing it. I'm simply not doing it. What can you possibly mean? I'm not getting involved. You don't have to, because I've done a bunch of reading and I'll just explain it to you, so it's fine. Me and existentialism got off to a shaky start. Pre my computer science software engineering days, I did my undergraduate in philosophy. You would think I would have been exposed to existentialism, but I was not. We only had one module on Nietzsche and it was mega oversubscribed, so I didn't even get the chance to do it. So my only introduction to existentialism was from going on dates with really depressive, nihilistic philosophy boys who had just discovered Nietzsche and were like, God is dead. Nothing has any meaning. I'm going to be horrible to you and myself because at the end of the day, none of it matters. Meaning isn't real. There's no purpose. And even at the time, I remember thinking, even if that is true, even if your philosophy says, okay, there is no meaning in the world, we could try like being nice to each other. There's no rule against that. So it never really made sense to me from the start. It seemed like a very depressing way to live. And it was never going to get on with me because I have some kind of like truly chronic, medically diagnosable optimism. I will do something once, it will go terribly, and I'll be like, it's probably going to work out the next time though. So I thought, if this is what existentialism is, I don't want any part of it. It sounds horrible. Why would I want a life philosophy which is just making me think that nothing has any meaning and I'm going to die? I don't want to be thinking about that all the time. What a horrible way to live. Also, I was much more focused on more interesting problems at the time, which felt like metaphysics, ontology, consciousness. But now I think the existentialists are necessary. And I will tell you how I came to this conclusion. So, I was at work because unfortunately, even when your entire self has dissolved within your hands, you still have to like show up and earn money because you have bills to pay. I can't do anything about that. It really is truly a nightmare. So I'm at work. Work is already a place to feel the absurdity of life. Everything is made up. You're using terms which have no other meaning other than like within the work context. There's all these like fake plants around and weird office furniture, and everything is grey and there's like no natural light. It's a good place to discover the absurdity of life, an office, a corporate office environment. So I'm at work and I'm in a meeting. It's a meeting with like external people who we're kind of, I guess, their client. So they're trying to sell us something. So they've got some sales guys. They've got a whole team. We've got a whole team in the meeting. The sales guys are reeling off their little sales spiel. And I'm thinking, if I quiz them on any of this, like they don't really know what they're talking about. They're just reciting the little speech that they've prepared. No one on my side of the table really totally understands exactly what's going on. Each of us might understand a little part of what they're trying to pitch us, because we all have different expertise. None of us understand the whole thing. None of us really understand like exactly the way that they're solving the problem, but we're all nodding along. Yes. They're all nodding along. I'm sure half the people in the room are barely paying any attention, but we're all acting out little roles that we're supposed to play. And I start becoming aware of this, that we're kind of all like playing out this weird theatre of what it means to be in a meeting, what it means to be in a sales pitch. And I start looking around and realising, oh my God, someone designed all of this office furniture. Someone put together this office room with all its weird little zoom cameras and all its strange utilitarian furniture. And then a lady comes into the room and she's bringing a little tea trolley. And she's trying to be as silent as possible to not disturb what's going on. She's trying to put these cups down like as quietly as she can. And no one in the meeting is acknowledging her. We are all completely ignoring this woman's presence. For some reason, this act completely sent me over the edge in my head because I was like, all I had the urge to do was get up and help this lady with her little tea trolley. And to acknowledge the fact that this whole situation was completely ridiculous, completely nonsensical, absurd. What are we doing here? What are we doing here in this room? We should be outside in the sunlight. We should all be drinking our tea together with the tea lady. We should talk about the highs and the lows of the human experience. I was looking around the table and I was trying to imagine what all of these people felt in their moments of like peak humanity, when they're crying over the loss of a loved one, when they're dying with laughter with their friends, like all of these innate, like meaningful human emotions that for the sake of this game that we're playing, we have to ignore. We have to sit around this table, we have to act like good good little employees in a weird like theatre performance of what it means to be in a meeting. And we can't acknowledge this lady with the tea. And on top of this, as well as having the crisis of like, I want to get up and help this woman, I'm becoming aware that it's only the social norms and etiquette of the situation that are stopping me from doing that. I have this desire to act, but these weird imposed rules that I don't really believe in are restricting me from that action. And that made me even more upset and horrified. So I leave the meeting and describe the situation to my manager. And I'm very lucky to have a very good manager who listens to my philosophical grievances as well as my workplace grievances. And he went, "Have you read Jean-Paul Sartre's Nausea?" And I went, "No." And he said, "It sounds like you're describing the exact situation from the book, so I think you should read it." So I went home, I did some Googling, I ordered Nausea, and I ordered a bunch of other existential books. And it has been blowing my mind. I'm going to cover 4 like basic themes of existentialism. The existentialists like cover a whole group of people who sometimes have quite different views and were spread out over a period of time. And some of them even rejected the name existentialist, but we just kind of lumped them all together. So the 4 themes. First one, existence precedes essence. This basically just means that we exist and there's no necessary underlying morality, purpose, and value within that existence. Existence comes first, rather than the meaning behind it. Most people, I think, would naturally say that they kind of agree with this, unless you believe that there is a God who has given us a very specific purpose of like how to live a human life. But it's also worth mentioning, you don't have to be an atheist to be an existentialist. Several of the existentialists were also theists, like Kierkegaard and Heidegger believe in a God, but I guess it's a kind of God who doesn't prescribe like a purpose on a human life. We're created by whatever means you wish to believe, and we don't have a necessary thing that we're here to do. We have no should. We just exist. And although a lot of people, if you ask them, I think would agree with that statement, most people would say, oh yeah, I think we kind of like create our own meaning, or like however they think it should be done. But we all act out of a weird obligation, a weird sense of duty to a whole bunch of purposes that we've picked up from random places, and it's things you would never expect. Like, I should aim to be successful in life. I should work hard. I should be an honest person. I should try to be good, whatever that goodness means to each of us. Although we are happy to say, oh yeah, I don't think there's any like underlying meaning. I don't think the universe was created with a purpose. So many of us still act on those shoulds that I think if we really questioned it, we don't know where we've got them from. Why should I try my best? What evidence do I have to try my best rather than try my worst? And you might say, okay, well, but it has a better outcome. But why should I be aiming for a better outcome? Why should I be, oh, well, I should try to be successful because I can live a comfortable life. Why should I live a comfortable life? I can choose to live a comfortable life. There's no need, there's no should. But we kind of absorb these things as if there is, rather than taking responsibility for the fact that we can choose. This is coming to the next theme. The next point is that the fact there is no meaning, the fact there is no innate sense of purpose, means we have the most radical freedom you could imagine. In every moment of your life, you are free to choose the kind of life you want to live, to choose the values you want to aim towards. rather than saying, oh, I should try my best because I should live a comfortable life, I want to try my best because I choose to live a comfortable life. That is such a different kind of statement. And the existentialists point out that this is tricky because with this sense of this true freedom that we have when we realize we don't have these obligations, with that freedom comes an enormous amount of responsibility. It's terrifying to realize that in every moment, whatever I am doing, I am actively choosing to focus on the things which I want from my life. Rather than being able to shirk some responsibility because you believe there's kind of this like, oh, well, I should be doing this, but I don't want to, so I'm just gonna do this instead. That because there is no should, what you're actually doing at any given moment is choosing to work towards a different goal. If you don't want to, if you're like, I should go to the gym, but I don't want to, so I'm not. It's easy to say, it's easy to get rid of some of that responsibility. If you reframe that as, I'm choosing not to go to the gym because I don't want to, you are now the kind of person who doesn't want that. Is that true? I think when you start to reframe the sentences like that, you realize that isn't who you want to be. That isn't the life you want. You realize you're making an active choice every time you do or don't do something. Sartre has a quote. I can't remember exactly what it is now, and I haven't written it down, but it's something like, in every moment you can choose, but to cease to choose is to cease to be. Like, you are making an active choice anytime you do or don't do anything. Even when you think you're not choosing, you are choosing. And this is related to the third theme, which is bad faith. Because it's so difficult, they use the term anguish. It fills us with anguish when we realize that we are truly free and that we are making these active choices in every moment. It's painful to do that. So we kind of avoid that by just pretending that we do have obligations, that there are things that we need to do, that fit into the role of who we are. We kind of have this role set out in our head and we play along with it, and we believe that we need to play along with it. We are ignoring our freedom. We are implying that there are these innate values in the world when actually there aren't. I'm going to read you a little section. My squeaky chair. So, this is from Existentialism, a very short introduction. As someone who has read a whole bunch of philosophy in the original, you do not feel an obligation to do that. Do not feel it because there is no obligation anyway. But just in general, I don't think there is sometimes you can gain a lot from reading something in the original. But if you just want to start with something a bit different, or you want to get an overview of a really large topic, just read something like this. Or just read, there's values to both, but maybe I'm a bad philosophy student. I think these are ideal sometimes. Anyway, Sartre is here and he's talking about a waiter in a cafe. The man's movement is quick and studied. He is a bit too solicitous for the customer's orders. He returns balancing his tray recklessly, yet giving the impression of complete control and so forth. He is playing at being a waiter in a cafe. He has become slave to the image that others' expectations have imposed upon him and which he has appropriated. Bad faith enters when the agent dismisses any other kind of behaviour as inconceivable. He simply is a waiter with his entire being, the way a stone is a stone. But his consciousness makes such total identity impossible. Pre-reflectively, he is aware of the game, but reflectively he's focused on the job to be done in this particular way, and chosen to overlook his sustaining project of excluding other possibilities. On the other hand, to choose to live the anguish of continuously renewing this project with the full realization that at any moment one could shed the apron and leave the profession would be a form of good faith, but owning such freedom and the anguish it entails is usually avoided. When I read that, it's fully underlined in here because I had to sit back and take a moment, because is that not exactly the same situation as I described in the meeting? I'm playing along, I'm playing this role of being a good office worker. I'm playing the role of being a good meeting attendant. I became aware that I could have made another choice. I could choose to acknowledge the ridiculousness of the situation. I could choose to get up and help the woman with the tea. I could choose to interrupt the meeting and say how absurd it all is. But it felt impossible. This is when it says bad faith enters when the agent dismisses any other behaviour as inconceivable. It felt inconceivable. It felt truly inconceivable in the moment to admit that there was another way to act, there was another choice to be made. And I felt the anguish of it would be painful to make that decision, to go against the role that I am playing out. Obviously, in this situation, there would have been consequences, as they acknowledge, like there's responsibility that comes with this freedom, and it probably was sensible that I didn't get up and make everyone go outside and talk about what it means to be human. I'm not sure my company would have felt that great about it, but I could have made that choice. That choice was available to me. We have to acknowledge our true freedom in every moment, our freedom to make a different choice, to, as they put it, shed the apron and leave the profession. But owning the freedom and the anguish entails is usually avoided. This is so important because every time we make we make a choice or we don't make a choice, but every time it feels like I don't have a choice to act, I am actually betraying myself slowly but surely by going along with the role that we feel is dictated to us and not acting on those values when they arise within us, on the actions that we feel would be an authentic thing to do. Every time we ignore those and we just continue to play out the role that we feel is set out for us, we are slowly but surely degrading our sense of self. And I think this is partly what's happened. Part of it could be that, you change naturally over time, and as you come into your 20s, your values and your beliefs change about the world. But also I think I've slowly but surely been undermining my entire sense of self by playing out this role that has somehow been dictated to me from somewhere and that I have gone along with. Because I felt somehow that I didn't have another option. But I do. In every moment I have another option. And let me give you another example. So too, the student who insists she is going to become a brain surgeon, but who automatically reaches for the snooze button on her alarm rather than get out of bed to attend her chemistry class is acting in bad faith. She has chosen not to choose, which is to say, she has chosen not to be that surgeon, but without acknowledging the fact. She is deceiving herself, she is living in bad faith. Every time we act based on kind of just repetition, habit, we've always done something one way, we feel we need to do something, we feel we have some kind of obligation. Oh, I should be a good office worker. I've always got up in the morning and done this particular thing. Oh, I've always done this in the past. Oh, it's probably expected of me that I will go to university. It's probably expected of me that I will go to this dinner party later on. It's probably expected of me that I should behave in this kind of way. Every time we do that without acknowledging that we are actively choosing, we have a choice in every single moment of our life to act one way or another. This idea feels so revolutionary to me. And it's hard. I don't think existentialism is something that you can go, okay, I'm going to be an existentialist now, and then not think of it again. The reason this is hard is because you have to actively think about this every time you get the opportunity. Every time you realize you're acting in a certain way, and that you could choose to make a different decision, and asking yourself, am I acting out because it's kind of my role? It's something I feel I should do. It's something I feel that my personality, that my character that I've developed, something I feel that that person or the kind of person I am would do. To realize in those moments, I have the chance to make a different choice. I have the chance to do something else. That's terrifying and a huge amount of responsibility. So I understand, like, I'm not saying I've solved it. This is a very overwhelming thing to realize, and I don't have a full answer. I think so many of these ideas as well, like, they're naturally, like, they've been picked up, and we have more and more people talking along these lines, like, oh, you know, make a choice today, like, who's the kind of person you want to be? But I think it's slightly moved away to, it's drifted off the existentialist course and become slightly unhelpful. I was thinking particularly about the whole, when we have these influencers who are like, I changed my life, I decided I'm going to be the kind of person who runs now, and I'm going to get up and I'm going to go for a run. What's helpful in that is the recognition that someone realized they had a chance to make a different choice, and they made a different choice. Whether that's going for a run, starting to do a hobby, a new hobby, to be a different person. The emphasis on your ability to make a different choice is an excellent thing, like an incredible thing that we all need to be aware of. But sometimes I think in influencer land, it switches a bit to becoming prescriptive of, they're just defining a new game you can play, a new role for you to adopt and live out. Oh, you can be like me and be the kind of person who gets up and goes to the gym, and then I do all this work and I'm a productive person. And if we sit there and watch it and go, oh, I'm going to adopt that, I'm going to play out this role now, we're still not actively choosing from authenticity. We're still not actually questioning what we really want and listening to the little voice inside our own head. We're just adopting a new role instead of old self character in a play. I'm picking up a different character and I'm just going to play that one out instead. And it's a different set of shoulds. It's not the recognition that in any moment you are truly and radically free to listen to whatever it is that might be coming from your head. And I think that's exactly why I'm sat here making this video. This is the first time I've ever done this.
Hello, this is a documentary about me. Actually, I'm just kidding. About someone a lot better than me. Someone who's cool.
And I don't know exactly why I felt called to do it, but it felt like the little voice, the whispering voice, the authentic choice to make, the active choice to make, instead of the role I have continued to play out for many, many months, instead of betraying that little voice inside my head and going along with how I feel I should behave, wherever I've picked those shoulds up from. This is a different choice. This is me actively choosing something. And the craziest thing about it is I can't sit here and justify to you exactly why I'm doing it. And I think that's a good thing, because I think when we have a role, when we're playing out a little role, it's easy to come up with a narrative for it. It's easy to come up with a justification for why you're acting the way you do. Oh, I'm doing this because I'm always the kind of person who acts in this way, and these are the kinds of things that I do, and I did that because of all these things in the past. I can't really sit and justify to you, I haven't come up with a narrative yet of why I'm making the decision to do this, because I'm making the choice in this moment to listen to that little voice, not knowing where it's come from, where it will take me, only that I am making an active decision in this moment. There's this other quote from Dostoevsky, who I think we can still consider an existentialist, even though he's writing obviously literature rather than more purely philosophy. And he says, I am a cage looking for a bird. And I think that is so prescient and such a wonderful quote, because so many of us are walking around holding a little prison, a little cage inside ourselves, and not realizing that we're doing it. We're carrying around all these shoulds and obligations that we've picked up from various places, maybe even ourselves in the past. And we've lost our little bird, who is our truly free self, our self who recognizes that in every moment I have the chance to act the way I want. I have the chance to listen to whatever it is that might be in my heart or in my mind. And so here we are. Yeah, like I say, I'm trying to act more authentically, trying to recognize that every choice I make is an active choice. And I think by doing that, I will stop this slow betrayal of myself, and slowly my sense of self, whoever that self turns out to be, will end up returning, or not returning, but actually being formed. Because this is the amazing thing. It's not like, oh, there is some fundamental self there for me to go and discover. It's more like every choice I make forms the person who I am. And that's exciting, but also terrifying, and a huge amount of responsibility. And sometimes, no doubt, I'm going to ignore it and continue to play along with the little games, because the little games are easy. It's very easy to play out the role of a good friend, a good office worker, and sometimes those might be what we want, but maybe we just don't want the chance to sit and think about it. And if you're going through something like this right now, if your entire self has just dissolved before your eyes, there's been some other things which have been really helping me. Firstly, and this was the final existentialist theme which I was going to discuss, recognizing the absurdity and being able to take it with a sense of humour. All of the existentialists emphasize this. Camus is most famous for his links to absurdism, but I really like this quote from Kierkegaard, which says, "When I grew older, I opened my eyes and saw the reality of the world, and I began to laugh, and I have never stopped laughing." The world is insane. It's very helpful to recognize that it's not a new phenomenon. It's not a 2020 to 2025 style problem to realize that the world is absurd. Hundreds of years of people have recognized that the world around them is completely ridiculous, and we are all following these weird, bizarre, made-up rules, and we've invented societies which are sort of based, they're held together with nothing but, like, I don't know, a glue gun and a prayer. Like, really, there is very little that makes sense in the world around us. And so that's probably why it's just much easier to continue to play the games than all recognize how unbelievably free we are in every single moment. So a sense of humor. The two others, friendship. As much as I said that empathy is starting to grate, I am so grateful for it. I'm so grateful to have friends who listen to me. Like I said, my solid sense of self has dissolved in my hands to some kind of liquid. If that's true, my friends are acting as the cup. They are holding me in some sort of stable state for me to, like, be able to reform myself. I'm only not completely lost because they have been there to catch me and hold me together. Final one is time. There's all the cliches. Time heals all, blah, blah, blah. But it really is true that we can know whatever we're feeling now, it's going to change through time. I feel I have no sense of self at the moment, but that's going to change. And hopefully these making choices from this place of authenticity is going to make that possible. And I think I've only started to realize in my 20s the insane power of compound interest in time. Like, obviously from a money perspective, I don't need to remind you about the importance of savings, but from a habit perspective, I feel that you only really start making conscious choices about the way you decide to live when you're a teenager. And it's only in your 20s that you start to see the output of those conscious changes over a period of 5 to 10 years. And you start to realize, whoa, if I just make a choice repeatedly over a period of time, my life radically transforms. And so I feel hopeful about that. Like I said, maybe I am a very naive optimist. And I think it would take a very optimistic person to read all this existential philosophy and feel like renewed and reinvigorated and rejoice in it. But I really have been. I think it's so hopeful to realize that I'm free to make choices and to listen to myself again, and that the power of that is only going to compound over time. And I don't have to betray myself anymore, slowly but surely. I can listen, and whatever it is, whatever that little voice in your head is saying, the one you maybe even don't want to admit to yourself because it feels embarrassing or it feels strange or you don't know why that little voice is saying that, unless, oh my God, I've just had the realization, unless you have a little voice that's telling you to like go out and do harm to someone, please do not listen to that. If that is the case, please seek help. This has taken a really dark turn, but I just suddenly felt the need to say that. But for the rest of us, as long as your little voice is being polite and kind and feels hopeful about the future, use the power of your freedom to act upon it. And yeah, maybe I will see you again, maybe I won't. I'll have to see what the authentic choice feels like at the time. And until then, bye.